Not yet.
Hey everyone. Today I'm going to introduce you to someone that I'm personally thrilled to know and have the pleasure of working with at Love Life Telehealth for almost 4 years now. Before I get started, my name is Anthony Masiello. I co-founded Love Life Telehealth after living the first half of my life sick, unhealthy, and morbidly obese. After learning how to reclaim my health, I have been on a mission to help others to do the same for themselves. I now love my life and my job of connecting people across the country and around the world with some of the most incredible physicians on this planet. Today, I have the pleasure of being here to have a conversation with one of those special doctors who you probably already know because she's been running our show for a little while, Dr. Niki Davis. Dr. Davis, welcome.
Thank you. I have to say, it is nice to be on the other side of this. Even though I love interviewing the other doctors, it is nice to have you be in charge today.
I was wondering, I was going to ask you if it feels like you're in the hot seat, but I don't know which of these is the hot seat, right?
I kind of feel like maybe you are more in the, well, I don't know.
It's,
That's a good question.
they're both also fun, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as we jump into it, I know that people will be very familiar with you, but I would like to have them have the opportunity to kind of know you a little bit more deeply. And the first question that we usually start with is what drew you to lifestyle medicine. But for you, I'm going to change that a little bit. And first, I want to ask, what drew you to medicine at all?
Yeah, that's a great question because it is kind of a little bit more complicated, my story. I think a lot of people in lifestyle medicine got into medicine first and then, you know, became jaded or frustrated with the system, found lifestyle medicine, and it was wonderful for not only them, for their careers, but also for their patients. And so then they seeked out lifestyle medicine. Whereas for me, I was an engineer on the space shuttle program initially. So I worked in northern Utah on the old space shuttle, the one that you've probably seen on the news before with, the big tank in the middle and then the two white, the big orange in the middle and then the two white rockets on the sides. So we produced those white rockets on the sides. And so, I did that for about 7 years. And throughout that kind of journey of my career, I started learning about plant-based and how it could benefit human health. And I became so excited and passionate about it that I just could not stand another day of working as an engineer.
Wow.
so, so that's when I started looking into, okay, what can I do to make this what I get to do every day?
Yeah.
And I don't know that I initially thought about doing medicine. It was just, what can I do in this realm, in this
Mm,
sphere? But because of having a bachelor's and a master's in engineering, it actually made me a very good candidate to go to medical school because it was an interesting background. And I'd already worked, in a career and, had a like real world experience.
right.
So I ended up going back and applying for medical school. I was fortunate enough to get in right away. But going to medical school was always the plan was that this is the kind of doctor I wanted to be. Even
Mm,
though at the time of starting medical school, I was not familiar with, quote unquote, lifestyle medicine. I just knew that I wanted to help people reverse their lifestyle related diseases using food for the most part.
It's
And
so fascinating. It's like it's like the world and you were moving in parallel, right? As lifestyle medicine was becoming a thing, you were in medical training to practice lifestyle medicine, but like before it was even a thing.
right. And
Wow.
yeah, and so I was learning about, kind of, I would say the founders of lifestyle medicine, like Dr. Klaper and Dr. McDougall and Dr. Ornish,
Yeah.
all of these figures that I started looking into and like, wow, these guys know what they're doing and this is incredible. And why aren't there more people doing this? And so really getting excited to become that kind of a physician, to not only get to be that kind of a doctor, but also to help spread the word about this,
Mhm.
right? So even though I love working one-on-one with my patients, a really big benefit of doing this kind of medicine is also being able to help spread that word to the world.
Yeah.
So yeah. So as I started medical school, I because it was more of a conventional training as an MD, I I had to seek out opportunities to learn more about plant-based nutrition, lifestyle medicine. You're going to get to see my dog here today, by the way. She's going to be walking around. Her name's Charlie.
Fantastic. Hey, Charlie.
um, but yeah, so because of that, I started looking for those opportunities early on, and that's when I got to work with Dr. McDougall back when he was doing his live-in programs in Santa Rosa,
Mhm.
California. I got to work at True North Health Center where they do water fasting, working with Dr. Klaper, Dr. Goldhamer, and then the cherry on the top was right before I was about to graduate from residency in family medicine. You guys started as plant-based telehealth.
Yeah.
So I wrote to you and I'm like, hey, this is kind of my dream job.
Yeah.
Please sign me up. And, it took a little while for you guys to really get to the point where you needed to add on additional doctors. But I was so glad that I found you when I did, because it's just been a dream come true.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's a dream come true for me too. I mean, to get to work with incredible people like yourself and and our colleagues, who I know everyone has been getting to know, right, over the past several months, or re-getting to know. But and then in addition to all of you doctors, it's like the community that surrounds us, and the patients who reach out to us. Like, it's the most incredible community that there is, and the fact that everyone is focused on, helping and supporting and caring for each other um, to get healthy, and really, but to get healthy on purpose to improve quality of life, right? And to really enjoy living. It's fantastic. So I'm also very happy to be part of it. And I'm very happy that you are a part of it as well.
Yay. Well, thank you for taking a chance on me.
Yeah. So I think that covers what drew you to medicine and what drew you to lifestyle medicine. And now that you've been seeing patients with us here for over, well, just coming up on 4 years now.
I
And
can't believe that.
I'm always so interested to hear, I have the privilege of listening in on the conversations with you and your physician colleagues when you're talking about some patient cases and stuff. Um, what are your favorite kinds of patients that you see? And what are some of the things that stick out at you?
Oh, that's so hard to say because I think I love that there's like the gamut of patients, right?
Mm,
There's a lot of variability. So I have patients who come to me who've been, say, whole food plant-based for decades, and they've had a hard time finding a supportive physician.
mhm.
And so then they come to me and they say, you're not going to try to force medications on me day one, and you really are going to listen to me on what my goals are. So it's wonderful to work with people like that because I feel like it allows them to finally feel like they're heard, that they are listened to, that their goals are my goals, right? That I'm not trying to force my opinions on them. I might give recommendations, but it's up to them. It's their body, it's their life, what they want to do. So you have that side of it. And then you have the other side of it where I get patients who are brand new to this
Mhm.
lifestyle thing. They have been living an unhealthy lifestyle for their entire lives. And honestly, because they didn't really know. Um, you know, it's it's not like it's something that all of us get taught and we just ignore it and we just decide, no, I'd rather not be healthy. A lot of people come to me and they have tried everything and they are frustrated and they are miserable and they just got off a keto diet, right? Where they just felt horrible. And so I get people like that where they are so new to it that they really need that initial help of just walking through the basics. And, so some of that might be, let's get some baseline labs and see where you're at. Let's talk about what you're going to do day one to start making changes. And so some people will come to me with some kind of a health scare and they say, you know what, I'm done. I need to know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. I'm going 100% tomorrow. But I would say most people would prefer to go gradually into a new lifestyle because it does take time. It takes effort.
Yeah.
It's kind of I like to equate it to brushing teeth. So if I told you to go brush your teeth, you would do it without even thinking, right? You just brush your teeth and you'd be done. But if I told you a very specific way I wanted you to brush your teeth, like I need you to do, you know, top first, circles all the way around, and then I want you to go on the bottom. You would have to sit and really think about it. Lifestyle, changing your lifestyle, I feel is very similar to that, where initially it feels hard because it's not second nature.
Right.
But once you get those pieces in motion and you are able to practice that, then it does become easy and it becomes something you don't have to think about. Like how it feels for me now. It didn't used to be that way. I'm sure it was the same for you.
Yeah.
Day one, it was really difficult, right?
Yeah. And I tell people all the time, like living a healthy lifestyle, like people don't do that because they're into torturing themselves, right? Whether it's professional athletes, whether it's people who have recovered from illness, whether it's people who have lost weight over time, like they do it and they live incredibly enjoyable lifestyles. But the really hard part is that period of change. And that's what comes to my mind when you're talking about learning how to brush your teeth in a different way. It's like
Yeah,
it's just learning how to, and different is the key word. It's not better, it's not worse, it's literally just different. But that period of change of it's significant, right? And it can be uncomfortable. For some people it takes months, for others it takes years. For some people who are incredibly highly motivated, like you said, some of those patients who are really scared, and like maybe it only takes a few days, right? But eventually it feels natural and just as normal as anything else, right?
right. And
Yeah.
that's what I love. That's just a part of what I love about what I do is being able to walk wherever they're at on
Yes.
this journey. I love being able to help walk them through that and figure out what are the resources that they need because everyone's a little different, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has different tastes in foods and everyone has a different home life. Everyone has different cravings and, it's so case by case that it is really fun to just really talk to someone and figure out what they need to be successful. And I have to say, what I also really love is that, I do miss seeing people in person, but there is something really beautiful about the telehealth portion of this where, like right now, I'm at home.
Yeah.
A lot of time, I sometimes work from my office, but I sometimes work at home. So if I'm talking to a patient and they're saying, well, what do you do for, veggie broth? I
Right.
said, well, let me show you. Let me just hop up and I'll go grab it out of my pantry, right?
Yeah.
Here's the brand. So that's really nice that I can show them stuff that I have in my home that helps me stay successful. And then I also get to peek into their home as long as they're at home
Yeah.
and they say, oh, yeah, I'm taking B12. Well, okay, what kind of B12 are you taking? What's the dose? Oh, I don't know. Can you go grab it? Oh, yeah, let me just go grab it really quick and I'll show you. Right. Or tell me about what's in your pantry right now. Do you want to take me over there and show me? And we can kind of look at the packages and go through those things. So there's just so many things that you can do over telehealth that you just can't do in person. And,
Yeah.
even though it is nice to be in person with people, I think that there is a big benefit to doing telehealth.
Yeah, I love that, and it goes back to something that I get to tell prospective patients all the time when they call to ask. They said, "I've already read this, or I've already watched these videos online and stuff," and I explain that that's general information. So, like, you could even take someone through a grocery store and do a general session, right, and show them different products and labels and stuff. But what I think makes Love Life Telehealth special is that this is now individualized. This is individualized care, and that means that now you're treating an individual patient based on their history, their preferences, their current conditions, and now I'm even learning based on what's in their pantry, right? So now you're not giving them a grocery store tour on products that they may or may not have ever even seen or touched before. But now you're helping them to understand what they're eating based on what's already in their cupboard. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's incredibly special. It's probably the next best thing to actually going to their home with them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. That's
yeah,
the thing. And we don't have to be in the same state, right? So I'm licensed in 12 different states. So it gives you that further reach too,
yeah,
and we have all of our doctors cover all 50 states, DC, international. So even if I'm not licensed in the state that you live in or where you're going to be during the appointment, at least you have a doctor that can see you no matter where you are, whether you're rural or not. If you've got an internet connection or a phone,
right.
right? It gives you that access to someone. lifestyle medicine, because it's still kind of a budding area of medicine, there aren't a lot of us providers out there that are doing this. And so to have access anywhere that you are is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Um, so, well, I'm curious to know and to help patients to understand from your perspective, from the physician's perspective, what does a successful appointment look like to you?
Well, I always like to start. So, first of all, whenever someone schedules, especially a new patient appointment, they fill out a nice questionnaire that gives me all of their background. So, I really like having that because I feel like our time together, we get more out of it because I already have gone through everything they've submitted. And I have a lot of patients who will submit a lot of information, old labs, imaging, old notes from other doctors, so that I really have a good idea of what I'm getting into before we even start talking. So that, I think, is a really successful way to start an appointment, so that
Hmm.
you aren't spending the first, 20, because our new patient appointments are 60 minutes. So I don't want to spend the first 20 or 30 minutes
Right.
going through all of that background when you could just write it out yourself, and then we can really get to what we need to. And then in addition to that, the first thing that I ask people is, why did you make this appointment today, and what do you want to get out of it?
Wow.
And so to me, a successful appointment is really listening to what their goals are for that appointment. I don't want it to be, here are what my goals are. I see a high cholesterol and I'm going to try to convince you to get on a medication for that. That is the opposite way. At least for me, I don't like doing medicine that way. I like to start with, what does the patient want? What is important to them? And then we can build from there. And so a successful appointment at the end of the day is going through their goals, what they want out of it, and then I can give those recommendations based on their goals. And then, I mean, then the world is our oyster. We can do whatever we need to, right? We can order labs, and we can, one of my most favorite things to do is getting baseline labs and then checking after a couple of weeks and seeing those improvements very quickly, so that people can start getting that motivation and seeing improvement right away.
Yeah. Are patients ever surprised when you ask them what do they expect to get out of the appointment?
Yeah, I think uh, they're they are amazed that they are having the opportunity to talk and to
Mm.
have the doctor listen,
Yeah.
honestly. Um, and I don't fault conventional doctors necessarily, because they have 10 or 15 minutes with patients normally. And it's really hard to get everything done that you are supposed to get done, right? You have this list of things you need to do, for the insurance company, for your clinic. And by the time you're done getting all those things out of the way, your time is over.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to sit and listen to someone who wants to tell you things for 20 minutes because you've only got that 10 or 15,
Hmm.
right? So, that's the other nice thing about telehealth, is that you're not sitting in an office waiting for the nurse to come in and check your blood pressure. Your doctor is behind with another patient, and so you're feeling really rushed, and then the doctor comes in, asks you a bunch of things really quickly, and then gets out. With telehealth, you can literally show up. I mean, I've had people show up in all different locations, right? In like a back office at their work, in their car, on a walk. So they can really have that full amount of time, and they don't feel pressured to be quick, and they don't feel like they're just another number. So yeah, so I think it is probably a breath of fresh air for a lot of patients, that they do feel listened to. They do have that time to really talk to their doctor about what they need.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. And I always use the words when I'm talking to prospective patients. It's with your doctor. It's not, that you're going to plan with your doctor and you're going to work with your doctor and you're going to, and it's, I mean, I just think it's an incredible way that medicine gets practiced.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I have to pinch myself every day that I get to do this. I had to go through medical school and residency, which was tough,
Oh my
especially with a
gosh.
baby. I had a 6-month-old baby when I started medical school. So those 80-hour work weeks, those overnights were rough, but so worth it. I don't regret it for a moment because this line of work is so rewarding. And I get to, not only do something that's really rewarding, but something that I'm really passionate about gets
Yeah.
to be at the forefront of my life.
I mean, you can tell this is a big part of your purpose of what what you're here to do. And yeah, it's incredible to be able to help others, and while working towards your own personal purpose, or have helping others be part of your purpose. It's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
If you had to pick one of the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine as your favorite, which one would it be and why?
I bet I bet you can guess.
I could probably guess, only because I've seen your cooking show.
Right.
I'm gonna guess nutrition.
Yeah, it's the food. It's the food. It's the food.
Yeah.
Um, that is absolutely my favorite because I feel like all of the pillows are important. I'm not saying that one is important, the other ones you can just throw away. They're all important. But what I have seen is that food makes such a huge difference. It
Mm.
is, to me, in most people, what makes the difference. And that's why it's my favorite. Um, you really can't, if you were to work on all the 5 pillars, but not the nutrition part, you just wouldn't see the benefit. You just wouldn't. So that is obviously my favorite, but I'm going to give you a backup, my
Okay,
second
good,
favorite,
good.
because lately my second favorite has been connection.
Oh,
Um, positive psychology, I think it's positive psychology and connectedness, social connectedness. And that's something that I think so many people in this country are lacking is, this connection with other people.
yeah.
And it makes sense that because humans used to live very differently than the way that we live now. We used to live in communities. We used to see people all the time, all day, every day. We used to work with people, among people, eat with people. And now the dream, the dream is to buy a little box and live in it by yourself, maybe with your family, but you don't really, I mean, a lot of people don't know their neighbors anymore. A lot of people are lonely. A lot of people live alone. A lot of people just don't have that social escape that humans really need and desire. And I know for me, that's connectedness has been something that I've been working on for myself, especially over the last year or so. And we really saw it come to a head, I think, during COVID, where people really were isolated and feeling that humans are social creatures. We need to have friends and we need to be around people for good health. So that's something that I think is really really important. One of those pillars.
And what are some of your favorite ways to connect with people?
So what I do is, first of all, I've gotten really into pickleball, Anthony.
Oh,
You
nice.
would be proud of me. I'm even better than I was when we played together at the
Wow.
Plantrition conference.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
oh, I guess it wasn't plantrition, it was the
Oh,
plant
plant
stock.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, plant stock.
We'll have to
So
play again.
we should. So that's been really fun getting out and getting physical activity at the same time and
Yeah.
talking to people and socializing. So that's one that I've been doing lately. And then I also do something called relatefulness, which
Mm.
is just a practice where you meet up with other people and you practice being mindful while being social.
Wow.
So just learning how to just connect better with people and be mindful about it. And it sounds kind of hokey, but it's changed my life. It's incredible. So just really practicing that social connectedness. Um, and then
Is
the other
is
thing, oh,
relatefulness oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. Is
yeah.
relatefulness something that, like, are there resources around, or is there something that we can recommend to people if they're interested in checking that out?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
I'm
you
not
can,
familiar with it, but I personally would like to check that out.
oh, I think you would love it. So you could just Google relatefulness, and it actually started in Austin, Texas. And so I know there are in-person meetups there. And we just happen to have somebody here where I live in Salt Lake City who I think learned relatefulness in Austin, Texas, and then brought it to Salt Lake. So then we do have in-person meetups that we do. And honestly, the way that I found out about it was I was in my apartment by myself one night and I thought, I don't want to be by myself. I need to go socialize. And so I went on the app Meetup, which is the other thing I was going to mention, getting on to Meetup and just finding things going on locally and just meeting new people. And that's how I found it. And I thought, well, that sounds kind of up my alley. I'm going to try that out. And then, just loved it from there. But I want to say that the main website is relateful.com.
Okay.
So you can kind of look to see if there's anything in your area.
Oh, fantastic. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah.
And I also use pickleball for that connection because, it while it's a sport and it's an activity, the way I play anyway, I just show up with a paddle and then get connected with all different people. And we talk to other people who are, like during our matches. I guess they're called matches. I don't even know what they're called. I just have
Yeah.
fun doing it.
Yeah.
But and then you get switched to someone else, right? Or to another group. Like these groups form, and it's a great way to be social as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, getting on Meetup, I found, there are like people who will post on there about pickleball meetups. And
Mhm.
then I've even found forest bathing, which, if people aren't familiar, it's really just being mindful while walking in nature. So it's like hiking, but just even better.
Wow.
And so there are meetup groups where they go and do forest bathing and just walk in nature together. And like one of the things, so this one that I did, I would say probably a couple of months ago when it was nice outside. Now it's like winter here. But when it was nice outside, because we were being mindful and looking around and just enjoying our, you know, um, everything that we were looking at, we found a hummingbird nest with two tiny little hummingbirds in it. I have never seen anything like that before. And we were just all in awe. Like we would have just walked right by it had we been on a regular hike. But the fact that we were really focusing on, enjoying where we were and really being mindful of it, we got to see something really amazing.
Wow. Wow. It sounds amazing.
Yeah.
So you've already covered several of them, but I was going to ask about what other hobbies do you have outside of practicing medicine?
So I would say some of my main hobbies are, well, being outside, being out in nature. And that includes hiking, forest bathing, camping. I love camping. You know, being somewhere where it's a dark sky and you get to see the Milky Way. I love getting out and being able to enjoy that. And then because I live somewhere where we have all four seasons and it's winter here sometimes, in the winter I love snowboarding. My son skis, and so we go together. And he's, oh my gosh, he's 11, and I would say at this point he's probably better than me, even though I used to be a ski and snowboarding instructor. He's incredible. He just goes on anything, no problem. Um,
Well, that's a credit to good parenting as well, right? When your kids exceed you, you get some credit for that also.
I guess so, but he's
It's
also
beautiful to
very
see, isn't it?
daring. He's very
Oh,
daring, and he makes me nervous.
oh,
He does these big jumps and like
wow.
doesn't even think twice about it. you and I know you've seen him because we've been skiing together.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's great.
Um, yeah, but so I love that, and then of course I just love spending time with family. I love hanging out with my dog Charlie, who you saw just briefly for a moment. I like painting. My dad was an artist. So, I've been kind of doing some paint by numbers here and there. I love walking my dog, just getting out, getting outside, getting sunshine. Yeah. So I'm sure I could think of a lot more. I love acting. Actually, I used to do a lot of acting back in the day before medical school,
Wow.
where I got to do a lot of hosting on commercials and little short films and things like that. So that's another passion that I have. It's, hopefully I can do a little bit of more of that. But yeah,
I don't
so
think
lots
you're.
of hobbies.
I was going to say, I don't think you're ever going to be bored.
No, no,
You've got
I
plenty
always
to
can find something to do. I love cooking plant-based foods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. So back to your practice and what you do for your patients. When you're speaking to someone, whether it's at just out and about, or it's a prospective patient or someone who's interested, like if someone's wondering, should they schedule an appointment with a doctor who practices lifestyle medicine or a doctor who practices, kind of the way you practice, what are some of the things that you want that patient to understand in how this would be kind of a different or potentially new experience or potentially better experience for them?
Yeah, so I would say a lot of people will ask me, are you working as a primary doctor, like a family doctor? Because I am board certified in family medicine and I've worked as a family doctor during residency. Um, it's different than that, right? Even though I have that training and that background, and I can definitely, I'm definitely aware of all the things that we need to know as family physicians. This is kind of an adjunct to that. So I think it's still important that people realize that they should still have someone they can see in person because you're going to have things that come up. You're going to have a cough that won't go away, and you need somebody to be able to listen to your lungs, right? You're going to have a sinus infection that, might need treatment. Those are the things that you will want to have some kind of relationship locally to be able to go see someone. But lifestyle medicine is great in that we really focus on prevention, treatment, management of lifestyle related chronic diseases. Now, we don't only do that. There are going to be people who come to me who have absolutely zero health problems, health concerns, and they are just wanting to prevent future problems, and they want to just optimize as best they can so that they can live a really long, healthy life. And so, that's something that is absolutely possible, that even if you feel like I don't need a doctor, well, boy, we can at least go through things and look through labs and discuss, what are your goals in life? Do you want to, see your grandkids graduate from high school and have those experiences and not be in a wheelchair or have a walker and feel like, you have that vitality in your later years? So we can do those kinds of things. And then the other thing that we do is, like I mentioned, dealing with chronic lifestyle related diseases. So I get a lot of people who come to me with either weight problems, they have high blood pressure, they have high cholesterol, maybe they have pre-diabetes or diabetes, type 2 diabetes. So many different things that are related to your lifestyle, to either eating an unhealthy diet or not having a lot of movement in your life or not having that connection, not sleeping well. We can work through all of those things to help a lot of times reverse those chronic lifestyle conditions. That's my number one goal, is that if you have those, that we are going to work really hard to reverse those conditions and hopefully get you off medications, get you feeling better, because that does not need to be your outcome. That does not need to be your forever. Like you may have heard that from your other doctors, right? You may
Yeah,
have heard you have high cholesterol, you need to start on a medication and you're going to be on it for life. I've had patients told that.
I've been told that.
Yeah, yeah. And so I love being able to talk to them about that does not have to be your destiny. That does not have to be your destiny. We can absolutely, and of course it depends person to person, but we do have that opportunity to talk about reversal and getting off meds.
Yeah.
And then even just, managing better. So even if maybe you've had a condition your entire life and changing your lifestyle helps improve it, but maybe doesn't get rid of it completely, we can still help manage you on maybe a lot less medication, right? There are so many things that we can do. I mean, it is sad to me that a lot of people out there either don't know about lifestyle medicine, um, or aren't being told the power of it,
Yeah.
right? Because even though I didn't learn much about nutrition in medical school, I still did learn that the first thing you need to do when someone, comes in with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, is you need to talk about lifestyle. You need to talk about healthy diet and exercise, even though we weren't really told what that looked like necessarily, what a healthy diet looks like. But you're told to have that conversation. It shouldn't just be write a script and you're done. Um, so I end up getting a lot of patients coming to me saying, why didn't anyone ever tell me this? Why didn't my primary doctor tell me this, that this even existed, that this was possible? I would have done this years ago, decades ago, right? But you know what? It's never too late.
Yeah.
You can get started at any age. And I will tell you, even if you have been living with chronic diseases your entire life and you're 80, it will still improve your quality of life to make these lifestyle changes.
And what's your guess? And I don't think it could be more than a guess in why others haven't told their patients that. You know, when someone says to you, why has no one told me this? I would have done this years ago. Like, is there an answer to that question? Or have they
Yeah.
just been unlucky? Or is it that the system is set up so that those questions don't even arise? I honestly don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think part of it is that it's not part of our education as
Mm,
medical providers. So we don't learn about it. And that's not the doctor's fault necessarily, because if they don't learn about it and they're not aware of it, how are they supposed to be expected to educate their patients on it? And I know this firsthand because I went through medical school and I didn't, I learned about the macronutrients that, carbohydrates and protein and fat. But I didn't really learn what a healthy diet looks like besides just that it shouldn't be processed.
yeah.
So I think that that's part of it, is that just our educational system in medicine is lacking. Uh, for me, it was different, right? I was seeking that out. And
Mm,
so because I was seeking that out, I was able to find that information and educate myself on that. But if I wasn't doing that, I would have really not known unless I just happened to come across it. Like, I know just by interviewing some of our other doctors, how they came across this type of medicine was through their patients,
oh,
right?
yeah.
So, like, I know one of our doctors had a patient come to her and say, I'm trying this thing, and it turned out that it helped improve their health. And so then this doctor said, well, boy, there must be something to this. I'm going to look into it more.
Yeah.
And then they learned about lifestyle medicine. And then, of course, went down the rabbit hole of learning everything and anything about it, became so passionate about it that left conventional medicine and then started practicing lifestyle medicine. So I think because it's still kind of this small, it's not as big as, I mean, you ask like anybody walking down the street, I would say, have you ever heard of lifestyle medicine? A lot of people haven't. And so,
Yeah.
unfortunately, what that means is that a lot of doctors haven't either,
Yeah.
or other medical providers. So I think
Yeah.
that's a big problem. And there are people out there that are trying to get it out there more and teach medical students, like Dr. Klaper is working on moving medicine forward, trying to get this into medical schools so that, as they're learning their core information in medical school, that's part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fantastic. I like how you described the process. When you described your different patients that you see and the reasons that they come to you, and it sounds to me like what you described is that everyone's coming to optimize their health, and I guess you could say by extension to improve their longevity and quality of life, right? And then it sounds just like where they're starting is different depending on what their current state is, right? And I just admire people who come before they're sick. and
Yeah.
like I just and what I say, that's just so smart, right? And as you know my story, like I had to get really sick before I was looking for solutions. And I think it's and I was lucky in that I was really sick, but I was also able to make the changes that led to ultimate improvement because I guess it wasn't too late, right? But not that it's ever too late to do something, but as you mentioned before, not everything can be reversed, when it gets into these later stages. So but people who start before they're sick, like they can set themselves up to live a pretty incredible life.
I know. I mean, it's like I envy my son who's
Yeah,
been on a whole food plant-based diet since birth, right?
yeah,
I mean, that's just incredible, and hopefully he stays that way.
yeah.
But boy, if I had had that opportunity, how much longer could I live? I mean, I'm glad that I
And
found it when I
enjoy those
did.
years, right? Live those.
Yeah.
How much longer can we live really enjoyable years
Yes.
and be one of those people who's thriving and people are wondering what we do and so
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
we all
and I think the important thing too is I hear a lot of people say, "Well, I'd rather eat my cheeseburgers and drink my beer and enjoy life and live less time."
yeah,
But what you don't realize is, first of all, the way I live does not feel unenjoyable. I love how I
yeah,
live. I love food. I love food. It's not
yeah,
like I'm doing this because I don't like food, that I'm okay with eating cardboard. I'm not. I enjoy it, and I don't feel like I'm restricted at all. I feel like it's really an enjoyable way to live, and that, boy, the bonus is that it turns out to be a really healthy way to live, and it allows me to stay away from those chronic diseases and live a long, healthy life, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing people don't realize is, like, do you really want to spend your last 10 years of life being immobile and feeling horrible and having limbs cut off? And right, that's not a way to live. Are
Yeah.
those cheeseburgers really worth that?
Right. Right.
Right? It's, to me, that it's not. And honestly, once you get further away from those really highly palatable foods that are just, being advertised to us all the time, so much fat and salt and sugar, um, once you get away from it, it becomes so much easier. I don't crave that kind of stuff at all. And in fact, I know that if I ate it, it would just make me feel really ill,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't feel good eating it. So even if it feels now like I could never give that stuff up, that is just not possible, just know a lot of us have done it, and we've come out the other side, and we love this way of living.
Yeah.
It's
And
worth it.
that's why our company is called Love Life, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't want people just to live life. We want people to love their life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. Um, so the last question I have for you, and I think it's always hard to ask people to kind of summarize, but if you could explain like your healthcare philosophy, and the reason I ask if there's a way that you can kind of just explain that is because I mean I've picked up a great deal of what your healthcare philosophy is throughout this conversation, but is there any way you can kind of sum that up or help people to understand who you are as a physician and how you approach practicing medicine?
Yeah, I would say that I feel like a partner in your health. So, and that's not the way that medicine has really been, I think, taught for a long time. I think people are starting to treat their patients that way, but it used to be very, I would say, more, where the doctor knows best, and the doctor is going to tell you what to do, and if you don't do it, they get offended, and they get
Oh,
maybe even upset with you, and like, what are you coming to see me for if you're not going to do what I tell you? um, Important to me is having that partnership, and I want my patients to understand that I am here for them no matter what.
yeah,
Your goals might be different than what my goals for you might be, and that's okay. I need to know that. I need to know what's important to you, because the last thing I want to do is tell you to do something or help recommend something to you that you're not going to do. Like, why would I do that? I mean, honestly, a lot of, I don't know the statistics right off the top of my head, but there's a significant amount of people who have been prescribed medications by their doctor who don't take them. And we know that.
yeah,
And if the doctors worked more in a partnership with their patients, they would understand the reasons why. Why don't they want to take that medication? And then you can really get to the heart of that and figure out, okay, well, what are we going to do instead? Then we can have a real conversation. So that's, I would say, I really like to work with people and helping them with what they want out of life, and meeting people where they are, and helping them, attain their goals in the way that they would like to, and giving those recommendations, knowing that, and I remind my patients this all the time. This is a recommendation that I'm going to give you, but it's your body, it's your life. Ultimately, I can only give you what I understand based on my education that I think would be the best for you, but you get to decide that. So I feel like having that partnership really helps people feel like they have taken back that control of their life. They've taken back that control of their health, that it isn't resting on some other person who might make them do something they don't want to do.
yeah,
Um, and then, of course, it's the food.
yeah,
That's the other philosophy I have. It's
yeah,
it's all about the food.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think your patients are lucky to have you as a partner. And I know that many of your patients, or well, most of your patients, because I also have the privilege of getting to see the feedback forms that patients are filling out, are incredibly grateful to have you as their healthcare partner. So thank you for sharing with us today, and for giving people a peek and helping them to get to know you a little bit better. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap it up?
Well, just as we're kind of rounding down to the end of the year, I think just letting everybody know happy holidays and be safe out there. And if you've thought about making an appointment, now's the time. Just come see any of our doctors. We'd be happy to help you.
Yep. Awesome. Wonderful. Thanks. Well, have fun, everyone, and enjoy it. And we will see you next time. Thank you, Dr. Davis.
Thanks, Anthony. Nice to see you.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.